Netflix limited series, which is incredible, Ripley,
Yes.
which, yes, that's the talented Mr. Ripley, of course, the Matt Damon, Jude Law movie. Before that, Noon,
Yes.
Ripley's Game,
Yeah, it was
different than
yeah,
John
yeah,
Malkovich,
yeah.
who's actually,
Yeah, he's in our
he's
version
in
too. Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So it's been done, of course, the Patricia Highsmith books. So people say, again, really? After seeing as much as I've seen of it, I can say yes and more.
Yeah. Oh
This
wow,
is,
that's great. I'm glad. Oh, I'll take that.
yeah, you walk into this, you go, okay, I think I've seen this. No, you haven't.
Well, it's very absorbing, isn't it? I think the fact that you can spend 8.5 hours with this character, you
Yeah,
get to you can treat the show almost like the way you would treat the reading the book. You can spend as much time reading the book. You don't binge read a book
right.
mostly. You can spend 3 hours and then you can leave it and you can go back and whatever. So we really are afforded to spend some luxurious amount of time with the character, and you're able to sort of go into very surprising areas, I think.
Well, that's exactly what I noticed here. I mean, much more than you could do in a 2 hour feature. They really let you go with every detail
Yeah,
of this character,
yeah,
which is a real luxury, I
yeah, yeah,
guess.
yeah. You do. I think you really get to watch the Tom Ripley. First of all, you see him unobserved,
Yeah,
where the audience are the only people that are observing him, and I think that's always fascinating for an audience,
yeah.
particularly to watch a talented character, a character with great intellect, be brilliant or be talented at what they do, and let's see them exercising that. I think that's something that's really fascinating to see somebody. So I always say he's a con artist at the beginning, but he's an artist. So
Yeah.
he's incredibly good at it. So we're able to. I think Steve Zalian, our writer director, he really teaches the audience how to watch the show, because the pacing of it is quite varying, and sometimes it really takes its time, and sometimes it requires the thriller aspect to it, and it's all shot in black and white, so it really, it really captures the period in a really extraordinary way. So it's sort of a mesmeric sort of feel to it, I think.
I would have loved to have sat in the meetings when they started this and said, and we're going to shoot all 8 episodes in black and white.
Right.
Because that is never done in
No.
this form. I can't tell you
Mm.
something I've seen on this scale that they've done. I've seen, some directors get to shoot in black and white. It's a beautiful thing. But this kind of format
Mm.
is highly unusual and it's stunning.
Yeah,
I
it
am
looks absolutely.
shout out to Robert Ellsworth, the
Yes.
cinematographer,
Mm.
who this looks so like a classic film to
Yes,
me.
yes, it's
It's got
absolutely
that.
beautiful, and it was a real vision of Steve Zalian's right from the beginning. That's the way he saw it. He read when he first read the book that it had a black and white cover, and there was something that just ignited his imagination. And yeah, he was very passionate about that right from the beginning, and so he has to be greatly admired for that. And yeah, when you marry that with Robert Elswit's work and the stunning nature of the places that we filmed in,
The
it ultimately,
Amalfi Coast and
yes,
Venice
yes, and
and
New York and
yeah,
Napoli. Yeah,
amazing.
it was. Yeah,
So, what do you think you look like in black and white on film? We've seen so many great movies,
yeah,
with great actors of their era that got to do that
mm,
regularly.
mm.
And is this the first time you've done black and
Yeah,
white?
it is. It changes. It's one way. I think it. I don't know whether it's the nature of the character, but yeah, it adds a certain distance that I think can is hopefully beneficial.
There's just so much more detail, and it really goes to the darkness of the story. I love the talented Mr. Ripley,
Yeah,
but
me
it's
too.
bright and colorful,
Yeah,
and it's a totally
yeah, it's a
different
completely different.
thing.
Well, it's sort of off season, the very unusual thing to be in a holiday destination
Yeah,
in October, November,
right.
which is what happens in the story. Tom is asked to go and pick up this who still in the Amalfi Coast in November. I mean,
Yeah,
what are you getting out of
living
it?
the life.
Living the life, and so
Yeah.
there's a kind of lethargy to the life there, and it is new. It's incredibly beautiful being there at those times of year, and they're slightly older
Yeah.
than they are in the original book.
I don't
Uh,
think that matters one
no,
bit.
yeah, I don't think it does either. I think one of the things when I was playing the character was to try and not diagnose him with anything.
Yeah.
That actually the to me is at the essence of the character is that there's actually a big vacuum at the center for me of this. So to diagnose him too much in relation to his age, his sexuality, anything that you think, or to give him a pathology, to give him like he's a sociopath, he's a psychopath, he's a, all those stuff I find
Right.
really, really unhelpful, because I the reason that this character is so enduring is because people go, I don't fully know what this is, but I do want him to get away with this, which is her great gift.
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Yeah.
But you are rooting for him.
Yeah, you want to, yeah.
And
I think
he's a pathological killer.
yeah. And I think the interesting thing about it is he's not a natural born killer.
Right.
I see him at the beginning, we think this guy isn't bloodthirsty. In fact,
Yeah.
blood is something that he revolts him. So I think it speaks to the Tom Ripley within all of us as audience
Yeah.
members, and not in the sense that we're murderers, but there are things where we think where it's a mystery as to why we behave in the way that we behave. That there are certain parts of our characters that are unknowable, and that's what's
Right.
kind of frightening, And
Did
and
you create a backstory for him? Because
No,
there
not
isn't
really.
really a
No,
backstory
no.
on him.
Certainly a kind of what I feel like it's sometimes what you have to do when playing Shakespeare parts.
Yeah.
You play each with as much truth, and you interact with whoever it is that you're asked to interact with, and then the sum of the parts make the whole,
Yeah.
And so that's what's interesting, and why he's such a fascinating character and so many of it was so varying. There's
Yeah.
a whole episode where it's really just action,
Yeah.
and so we see his physicality, his determination, and his brain and his physicality at work, and then we see a lot of the times quite domestic scenes, where it's three people in a cafe, and it's just very actable, easy stuff to access.
It's amazing too. In the first episode, you see it with in New York, and he's selling himself as a close friend of this guy who's gone off, and the parents have lost track of him, and so their hope is paying you to go and bring him back. And that's when the audience watches it, and sees when he finally does run into him on the beach, and he doesn't even know who you are.
Absolutely.
And so we're going like,
how is this going to work out? And you think at any point, he's caught out here, or this is going to be the end of the road. And what happens in the story is you think, oh no, he survived that, and he slides through the door and and makes it into episode 3, makes it into and so and easy, and then it's really, really hard. You see this guy and you're like, oh my God, is this tiny? And he makes mistakes. That's another thing that's really, really important.
Oh.
He makes an inordinate amount of mistakes.
Oh my God, you're like gasping. I don't want to give away so much, because the whole idea of this is to get people to watch it. But I want to talk about episode 3, which is, this is a spoiler alert. You do kill the guy.
Yes.
And but saying means nothing, because wait till you see how it's done. In the boat, it's a little bit of Place in the Sun, but it's like it's so much more. And then the shocker part of it are the mistakes he makes doing that.
Absolutely.
And the combination of cinematography there, film editing, and acting is stunning.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it's all silent. If you're watching this, you don't have any dialogue really in so much of that.
No.
You're playing it with your eyes and with your face, and as a viewer, I guarantee you'll be on the edge of your seat.
Yeah,
watching.
and as it progresses, there's more we play,
and which is amazing.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Steve Zalian is a wonderful, screenwriter and filmmaker.
Great,
won an Oscar for Schindler's List, and is a great director here too.
Yeah. He's really fastidious and hardworking, and cares about the details, and understands that the details in this instance are incredibly vital to the audience's enjoyment, and also to Tom's, because you see thinking, and a lot of the time in drama we see people making decisions that are really quick, but it sort of dehumanizes them sometimes, and actually what we need to see is somebody thinking about something, and maybe we don't know what they're thinking about yet, but then we see what they're going to do, so it invites the audience to think, what would I do?
Right.
So you are siding actually with somebody who is a murderer.
Oh my God.
But there's no way that this character can have this amount of iterations in so many different forms if it was just one thing,
Right.
and that's all those things about evil or killer or monster or sociopath. The exciting thing about this, and the disturbing thing about this, and the connecting thing about it is that this is a human man.
Exactly. I read just this morning, I was glancing at some notes on this, but I saw Vanity Fair has something today, and they called it a queer story. I totally disagree.
Yeah.
I think you want to decide that's who he is,
Yeah.
go ahead, but there aren't a whole lot of clues there to call this thing that.
Well, what I think the reason that I can embrace that title too, is that it's about otherness. It's about somebody who is not invited to the party.
Right.
And that brings about certain things in certain people. And to my mind, there's a morality a sort of obscure morality to Patricia Highsmith's work. And to my mind, it's about art and beauty. And this man is somebody who lives on the edges of society in a rat-filled street. Nobody looks at him. He's completely dismissed, and he's got talent and no to any opportunity to express that talent apart from fraud, and in order to survive. And then there's another group of people who have not got any talent or limited talent,
right,
and feel completely entitled to it.
Yeah.
And feel
we have one running for president.
exactly right, and feel completely entitled to it and completely confident, and they get access and take for granted all the stuff that's that surrounds them. And then this person sees that for the first time, and something really dark emerges, and that to me is very symbolic of the way certain factions of the community, including queer people, have been treated over the years.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think it's about, this is what I mean, the diagnosis of a sexuality per se,
right,
I think can be, and I certainly think that there's a question about who gets access to the beautiful things in life. And so in that sense, I think it's open to so many different interpretations.
I got to ask you, what was it like shooting? I mean, this was done during COVID too, wasn't